they talking real loud. Spreading no lie, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swirling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track.
Another Queen Ahmadiyyah production.
Haze on the corner, they talking real loud. Spreading no lie, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swirling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark.
Another Queen Ahmadiyyah production.
Haze on the corner, they talking real loud. Spreading no lie, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swirling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah, and this is your Sunday Vitamins. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. All right, so let's get ready to get into it. Okay, so before we get started, you all know the spiel, you know the routine. Let's have a brief word from my sponsor at 12 Tribes. I have to keep the lights on.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
All right, so don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes hair oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts. You can also find it at Walmart.com. Okay, so let's see who is in here. Everybody, please hit that like button. Thank you in advance. Okay, RG Titan, We the People, Buckhorse DC, OG Patrice, G from the Land, Pearly is here. All right, let's get into it. Noah is here, Pretty Wings. All right, RG Titan. Gwendolyn is here. Okay, Mel is in the house, Coco V. All right, Leon, I see you. Ladybug is here. All right, shout out to my moderators putting in work and everyone tuned into the Queen. So let's, oh my God, you guys, my lights are flashing off. So if the stream stops, you're gonna have to wait about 2 or 3 minutes for me to get the internet back on. And my lights are almost trying to blink. I don't know what's going on. They might be doing some work in the area. Okay, so you all just keep that in mind. Okay, so you all can hear me. Okay, great. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so all right, all right. I'm back. I'm back. Sorry about that. I told y'all the lights were trying to blink off. Okay, so anyway, let's hope that doesn't happen again. Okay, so shout out to everyone in the chat and everyone tuned into the Queen, specifically my moderators who put in work. Okay, so that all being said, I mean, the internet would mess up just as soon as I start my darn live, right? Okay, so you all can hear me just fine. One's in the chat if you all can hear me just fine. One's in the chat if you all can hear me. Okay, let me get my. Okay. Okay, so you all can hear me. Okay, great. Okay, let's get it started. Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's go ahead and get it started. So now, with that all being said, um, first we're going to talk about why Aubrey O'Day isn't going to be testifying. Okay, Aubrey O'Day from Making the Band, she's not going to be testifying. Well, basically, she's not going to be testifying because she was not subpoenaed. And why didn't they want her to testify? Let's just go straight to what she said. Okay, hold on. Okay, here we go. Aubrey O'Day is covering the Sean Diddy Combs trial, but not testifying. The 41-year-old Danity Kane star or member from Making the Band, who previously spoke out about her experiences with a 55-year-old music mogul, announced a partnership with iHeartRadio to discuss the ongoing trial and explained why she won't be on the witness stand. She says, "Hi, my loves. I was approached by at iHeartRadio to cover the Diddy trial. The intention for this platform is to give you an up-close and personal understanding of what's going on from a perspective only someone that was there in it all could relate to you." Okay, this is what she says today, May the 18th. Now, she says, "There have been multiple fake headlines put out this week about me testifying without anyone contacting me or my lawyer to confirm this, which is defamation. And it was a reminder to me as to why this platform is so important. We need somewhere to go that cuts through the BS and goes straight to not just my experience, but many people who can give you their truths and their expert opinions on this historical trial. Now, it's time for a cultural shift in the music industry and hopefully others. It's time to reclaim our voices. It's time for artists to be protected, and mostly it's time for justice. If that is what you are on as well, please listen to the pod and rate it 5 stars if you want more. I'll continue to do everything I can to get the truth to the people," she says. And just because the hate from those or from these unconfirmed defaming headlines is so disrespectful to me, I want to remind you all that I have been letting you know what it was for 20 years when it wasn't popular or convenient. I took a lot of blows privately. I would never take a check to silence myself from anything that I know. If you know anything about me, you know that I could have several checks at this point. If I was subpoenaed to testify to these charges, I would absolutely show up because it's the law, first of all, and second, because I want and deserve justice as well. Okay, so this is what she said. She said she was not subpoenaed to testify. And I believe the reason she wasn't subpoenaed to testify is because if you all remember, I told you all that there were supposedly about 4 people that were supposed to testify, and then the judge said that 3 of them couldn't and 1 of them could, and that one who he allowed was Dawn Richard. Okay, now I told you all about prior bad acts. When someone who doesn't have anything to do with a criminal case, maybe they had a civil case against the person, but they have nothing to do with the criminal case, and they come in and they give their testimony to things that have happened to them, which are what is considered prior bad acts under the eyes of the law. And this is why Harvey Weinstein got his trial overturned, his conviction overturned. The same thing is likely going to happen to Diddy, because even though there were 3 people the judge denied, well, there's one person who came in and spoke about prior bad acts, and the defense tried to stop them. They objected multiple times, and that person is Dawn Richard. If you remember on Friday, if you were tuned in, I told you how when Dawn Richard was on the stand, she was supposed to be corroborating what Cassies said, but she was also up there talking about how Diddy, did things to her and how she was scared of Diddy and all of this, and the defense was objecting to it all because that really, they didn't want that brought in, and that's prior bad acts, which is viewed as prejudicial. But also, I think they didn't want her testifying because she has publicly talked trash about Diddy. Okay, she's talked trash about Diddy, and that makes it look like maybe she has a personal vendetta, or like she's not going to, maybe she has a motivation to not tell the truth. Now, I'm not saying that she has a motivation to not tell the truth. I believe that she would tell the truth. But what I'm saying is the prosecution is looking at it as though the jury may not believe her testimony, even if it is true. Thank you, Shell76. That's right, beloved, because they may view her as someone who is disgruntled. Okay. Also, Al B. Sure said that he was subpoenaed. Was he subpoenaed? Well, he's not going to be testifying either, and likely for the same reason. Okay. So keep that in mind. So some of these people that have been talking about it, because some people are saying, well, how come his bodyguards, his other staff members who've been doing all these interviews, how come they're not testifying? Well, that's likely because they all have been saying things publicly. So if you've been already saying things about him publicly that are negative, then that looks like you may just have a grudge, or you may be disgruntled, or you may just have a motivation to come up there and lie and say things. And even if you're telling 100% truth, the jury, that can give them the reasonable doubt that the defense needs. Okay. That can give them the reasonable doubt that the defense needs to win the case and get Diddy acquitted. So that's the last thing the prosecution wants to do. Okay. Now, also, I want you all to keep in mind that Remember when I told you all last week how Cassie was saying that she would have to have the S workers put the Eman with an S? We'll just call it the demon. Okay, the demon seed. That's what we'll call it. Remember how she said they would spray the demon seed on her and they wouldn't get paid all of their money? The S worker said they wouldn't get paid all of their money if they didn't, spill the demon seed, the Eman with an S, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, right? And so it was very important that they went all the way through, okay? So with that all being said, remember how Cassie said she'd have to put that stuff on Diddy? She'd have to rub it on Diddy's chest after the freak off was over, and she'd go in the room with him, just the two of them, and she'd put it on his chest, and then she would rub it on his nipples. Once in the chat, if you all remember that. Once in the chat, if you all remember that. She said she'd have to rub it on Diddy's nipples. Yeah, it all sounded so gross, right? Adrian said, you mean calm all the way through? Yes, yes. Okay. So with that all being said, here is why I believe that Diddy wanted her to do that. For those of you that have been following me since I've been covering this whole thing, remember, and I told you all that I have an insider who actually was at a couple of those parties that Diddy was having, and they told me about the lesser key of Solomon and how Diddy was supposedly allegedly conjuring up stuff or whatever and doing these rituals. Okay. At the end of the day, OG Patrice said it. OG Patrice, thank you. OG Patrice said ritual. Yes. And you all keep in mind, OG Patrice is in the music industry. Okay. So she knows about this kind of stuff. Now, with that all being said, Songwriter Son said, Queen, demon seed sounds worse than right. Well, okay, but that's what I'm talking about. So with that all being said, Diddy, I believe he was using it to do S magic, SEX magic, because here's the thing. When people engage in this type of magic, which is they do rituals and all of that, they sometimes use a woman's monthly. They also use fluids from the vajayjay. They use urine, and they use the demon seed, also known as Eman with an S. Okay, this is what they do, and they do this specifically if they're engaging in hoodoo. Okay, they do this, and if they also are engaging in some type of hoodoo or voodoo. And for those of you who know, I told you that it has been said that Diddy allegedly, mind you, was doing voodoo. Okay, and also Santeria with J-Lo, and J-Lo's first husband came out and said that she was doing these rituals with Santeria, where she was actually, sacrificing chickens and hens and then covering herself in the blood and all of that, allegedly. Now, that's what J-Lo's husband said, so her ex-husband. So with that all being said, I believe that's absolutely why he was doing that. And here's another thing, too. Let me tell you about this. Some people say that the urine is a territory marker, equating its magical deployment to the way the male dogs and other carnivores use it to drive off male rivals. Okay, and so that they don't appreciate the fact that a lot of urine magic encountered in folklore involves women and men. Okay, however, the basis for the utilization of this is for sex attracting spells. Okay, because smelling it and even tasting it, remember Cassie said they put it in her mouth, so it says because smelling it and even tasting the urine, okay, this is all so gross. This is all part of the ritual. Okay. So with that all being said, I absolutely think that's what Diddy was up to. Okay, so, and then they say men can make use of their sexual fluids in love spells. Okay. And they have this, it's called an orgasmic spell that they do. It's a ritual where they utilize the Eman with an S, or the demon seed, and then they asturbate, which is what they say Diddy was doing during the freak offs. He's sitting there watching Cassie and pleasuring himself. So they say they asturbate with an M to orgasm and preserve the resultant fluids. Okay, so I just want you all to pay attention. This is all nefarious. Okay, so this is the most popular way to do this in hoodoo. It's by making a knot spell on the man and keeping it tied up in a nation sack. Okay, for this purpose, the demon seed can be fresh or gathered even from a discarded condom, or even stored in the freezer until needed. But most of the root workers who do this capture the demon seed, or the eman with an S, and they have noted that it is important that the woman not have an orgasm while capturing the demon seed, because she might get mixed up in the spell and then fall victim to her own conjurings, okay, which could hold, and then they say which could hold yourself aloof, is how they put it. So they say, don't let yourself get mixed up into it when you're collecting his stuff. Okay, so y'all heard that? This is all nefarious. Okay, this is all nefarious. I just wanted to let you all know that. Hold on. And then they talk about given their preponderance of love spells and evil yet seductive women who engage in witchcraft in pop culture, it's understandable that sex magic is often misunderstood. But according to those who practice this erotic craft, it is just another form of magical manifestation. You have an intention and you're using orgasm or sex as a tool to achieve that particular intention. Okay? So, you know what this makes me think? This is sex magic, they say. Now, you know what this makes me think? It makes me think, is this why they were having those freak offs so often? Okay? Is this why they were having the freak offs so often? I'm just wondering because of this. Okay, so I find it all interesting. So anyway, with that all been said, now let's talk about some of these people that, now I was given this information by a source. But here are some of the people when y'all were saying, well, who's involved in this RICO? Who are the people that are involved in this with Diddy? And I said, well, you know, some of these people are going to flip on Diddy. Okay, some of these people are probably going to turn state's evidence or whatever, so they don't catch any charges or whatever. And so they're likely going to be talking about, you know, telling on Diddy. There you go, Empowered Wendy, spirit cooking. Absolutely. This absolutely has to do with spirit cooking. And for those of you who know that I did the video about Jay-Z and his relationship with Marina Abramovich, she does spirit cooking, and she allegedly uses these same fluids for that. Okay. At the end of the day, there you go. Lisa Roberts said her name. Marina Abramovich is a demon witch connected with this garbage. Exactly. So that all being said, at the end of the day, also for those of you who remember, I reported on a story maybe about 2 or 3 years ago where there was a school teacher, her and her husband were engaged in spirit cooking. And do you all remember this? One's in the chat if you remember this. The woman who was the teacher, and this was a middle school teacher, her students were like 6th or 7th grade, and she made cupcakes for them, and she put her husband's demon seed in the cupcakes, took it to school, and fed it to the children, and she got caught, and her husband were arrested. Do you all remember that? One's in the chat if you all remember that story. Okay, so this is absolutely something that people do. Now, also, you may remember a video that I played for you all where they were talking about these sex parties and some of the sick stuff that goes on there. Now, I don't remember which video about Diddy, because I've done so many videos about Diddy for the past 2 years. And even before the accusations, I was doing videos about Diddy. But here's the thing. There's a video that I showed where where they were talking about this person was like an informant or an insider. And they were basically talking about how these celebrities, these famous people, these rich people, they do these parties, okay, these S parties, and they have all this filthy stuff going on. So I don't remember which video it was, but I do have the clip of the video that I used in that particular video. So I'm going to play that again for those of you who missed it, okay? But here's the thing. So my insider told me that some of the people that have been accused of aiding and assisting Diddy, right, who are basically his alleged co-conspirators, mind you, this is all alleged. Here's the first one. We've seen her before. This is Christina Coram. She was accused in Rodney Jones's lawsuit. Also, Rodney Jones won't be testifying either, and it's likely because he did interviews as well. Now, and also because Diddy owes him money. Maybe they think maybe they think the jury would think that he also has a grudge. But this is Christina Coram, who was Diddy's chief of staff. And it was alleged in Rodney Jones's lawsuit that she basically was one of the people setting up these parties. She was paying the S workers, wiring the money to them and all of that. So this is a person who was named. Okay, here's another person who was named. His name is Neil. Hold on, let me make sure I'm getting these names right. Hold on, beloveds. His name is Neil Dominique. Neil Dominique. Okay, this is somebody who was supposedly working with Diddy. That's him and Diddy together. Neil Dominique. Okay. Then there was another person, and Cassie did mention this person on the stand. She said that he's the one that was with Diddy when they got the guns and went to go run up on Suge Knight. And he was also Biggie Smalls' former bodyguard. His name is D-Rock. That's him and Diddy together. D-Rock. These are some of the people who are going to be mentioned, and these people may likely be named as co-conspirators. Okay, from what I was told. Now, the last person is somebody by the name of C. Gutta. Okay, C. Gutta. These are all people that are supposed to be mentioned as possible co-conspirators. Okay, so then also it was reported on yesterday. Now listen to this. You may have heard about Clayton Howard. Clayton Howard is one of the S workers. Cassie referred to him in the text messages on the stand. They called him Dave. If you remember the specific text message where Diddy was asking Cassie, he said, let's do something different. Let's go see a Broadway play. And then he told Cassie, you can set everything up. Let me know what you want to do, basically. And he was like, by the way, the escort Dave hit me up. And then Cassie said, well, Daniel hit me up. Well, we know that Daniel is Daniel Phillip, who testified already last week. He was the first S worker to testify. Now there's another S worker by the name of Clayton Howard, whom they call Dave. Diddy escort Clayton Howard bid to quash a subpoena in the trial was challenged by the defense. Howard is also known as Dave, as identified by Cassie on the stand. Combs' team argues that Howard's journal and notes on case events aren't privileged, noting that Howard shared them with prosecutors, waiving any protection. The subpoena, they say, meets Rule 17 standards because apparently, Diddy's team subpoenaed him. And he was trying to quash the subpoena. He doesn't want to have to come in and testify, which I find interesting. So they said that the subpoena meets the Rule 17 standards. And Howard's lawyer says the journal is attorney-client privileged information. Okay, but the judge has yet to rule. Okay, this came out on yesterday. The judge, at least from this came out on yesterday. Okay, somebody sent me this on yesterday, my insider. They said the judge has yet to rule on this. And then also, hold on just a second. Okay, so the judge has yet to rule. Cassie testified that Dave was one of their more frequently used escorts. Remember the ones that Cassie talked about was Dave, Daniel Phillip, and Jules. Okay, those are the three that she mentioned. Now, additionally, Paul Arthur. Okay, Paul Arthur. Now, they showed his photo in court as well because they were showing Cassie photos of these people and she was saying their names or whatever. So they also mentioned Paul Arthur, who was also subpoenaed. He was subpoenaed by Special Agent Yasin Binda. That's the Indian woman who arrested Diddy at the hotel when he was supposed to be turning himself in. This was in September when he got arrested. And Agent Yasin Binda, on March 27th of 2024, 2 days after the HSI raid on Diddy's LA home, was confirmed as a New York-based escort by the Daily Mail. Cassie was shown a binder of escorts, and she was able to identify a handful of them, such as Jonathan Oddie, Greg, Jules, The Punisher, etc. Okay? And this person, Clayton Howard, a.k.a. Dave, is obviously represented by attorney Tyrone Blackburn, because I have the document here, which I'll show on the screen. As you can see right there, it says United States of America versus Sean Combs defendant to Clayton Howard, care of Tyrone Blackburn, TA Blackburn Law, PPLC. You are commanded to produce all written materials and notes you have created concerning your memories of events relevant to the above captioned case, including but not limited to the portions of the written journal. Okay, you have been maintaining those memories. The document shall be produced by email to the following address, and that is to be sent to Teeny Garagos. Said documents shall be produced on or before May the 12th. Okay, this is signed the Honorable Judge Aaron Subramanian. Okay, so please pay attention. So at the end of the day, this is also interesting. Okay, so that all being said, what are you all thinking? How do you all think it's looking for the prosecution? How do you think it's looking for the defense? To me, the prosecution had a win, and then I feel like the defense had a win. The prosecution did really good when they had Cassie on the stand for direct, but then when the defense came in and they did the cross-examination of Cassie, it kind of came off like they were catching Cassie up in some inconsistencies in her stories and some things that were not even true. And here's the thing. Here's the thing too. Some people, I don't know where people are getting these stories from, but I saw some people online saying that Cassie was 16 when she started dating Diddy. Some people were saying she was 17. I was at the gym earlier today, and I was talking to a friend of mine on the phone when I'm standing outside the gym, and they basically said that they basically heard my conversation, and he turned around and came back and said, no, Diddy was grooming Cassie. She was only 17. And I said, no, actually she was 21 when she started dating Diddy. She was 19 when she met him, and she was dating Ryan Leslie. I said, she said on the stand that she got her first kiss from Diddy on her 21st birthday. And I said, did you read the transcripts from the trial? Did you listen to any, or did you get any of the updates on the trial? And he was like, no. And I said, see, there's misinformation going around. Okay. Now, with that all being said, here's the thing. As far as I'm concerned, this whole thing that people are going back and forth like, oh, Cassie's telling the truth or Diddy's lying, or the people that are saying, they're saying, well, Cassie was a victim of Stockholm syndrome, or Cassie, she kept going back because Diddy had her brainwashed. None of that doesn't even matter. You know what matters is the fact that Cassie got caught in some inconsistencies, okay, on the stand, that the defense was able to cast doubt on her testimony. Some of the things that she said, they caught her up. They trapped her up in her own words. Okay, if you remember, she said that Diddy was making her have relations and do freak-offs when she was on her monthly. Then they pull up a text message to discount that, showing that basically Diddy was asking her, is your P still on? And then Cassie didn't answer the question. She just started talking about freak-offs. And Diddy said, wait a minute, is your P still on? Are you good? Because we can do it if your P's not on. And she said, oh, I think I'm going to skip my P. I just want to do the freak-off. So that proved right there that Diddy was not making her do that while her P was on. At least that time he didn't, because he was definitely concerned about whether or not the P was on. Okay. Another thing is, it didn't look good when they proved that Cassie admitted that she was dating Ryan Leslie. She must have started dating Ryan Leslie when she was 18, because she dated him for 3 years. And then on her 21st birthday, remember how she said her and Diddy tricked him, and she made a fake flyer, showed it to Ryan Leslie to make him think that she was going to do a performance that day. So I guess because she didn't want him to wonder why she's not spending her birthday with him, and that's her man. But that's because she got flown to Miami with Diddy, or by Diddy, so she could spend her birthday with him. And then Diddy invited celebrities and all that to her party, and that's when they first started messing around. So they did a good job of showing that she was cheating on Ryan Leslie with Diddy, and then she cheated on Diddy with Kid Cudi, and then her and Diddy took a break, and then she started dating Kid Cudi, and then for about 3 months is how long I think they said she dated Kid Cudi. But while she was dating Kid Cudi, she was still doing freak-offs with Diddy. And then when she got back with Diddy, she found out while she was in Africa filming the movie Honey 3 that somebody sent her a picture of Diddy and Gina Hoon, who she admitted that she was very jealous of Kim Porter and Gina. And so once she saw that picture of Gina, she got upset. And then next thing you know, she basically went out with Michael B. Jordan for New Year's Eve, I think it was. Okay, so then Diddy allegedly threatened Michael B. Jordan. Then she got back with Diddy again, and then Diddy introduces her to her now husband, Alex Fine. And then she started cheating on Diddy with Alex Fine. Then, while she was with Alex Fine, she cheated on him with Diddy. You all remember that? And then she said Diddy basically raped her. And the defense said they made it look like she only said the story about Diddy raping her because her now husband was FaceTiming her while she was having relations with Diddy, and she declined the call. So you see how they did this? Very calculated, very methodically. They made her look like she's just a person who messes around and cheats and lies. And Cassie, the worst part of it was when Cassie wrote that letter to Diddy, which I believe they made her read on the stand, where she admitted that I'm sneaky. I'm not a good person. I feel like I move on too quickly. I'm just so happy that you love me and that you're here with me and that I have you. When the defense asked her, why did you say you were sneaky? Why did you say that about yourself? And she said, I think she said, I'm not sure. Like she couldn't remember why she said that. And then the defense said, is it maybe because you were cheating on Ryan Leslie, having an affair with Diddy? And then she said, well, yeah. So, okay, so that already right there. And then let's also not forget that Diddy has been saying as his defense that he was not trafficking her, that they were just some swingers. And Cassie literally said the word swingers on the stand when she was under direct examination by the prosecution. She said that Sean introduced her to the swinging life, or he talked to her about the swinging life. You all remember that? Because I made a big deal about that because I was so annoyed that she literally used that particular word, because that's the same word Diddy used. And I said, she's helping Diddy. Why did she use that? Why did she have to use that word of all words? And then there's something else I forgot to tell you all. There were some text messages, because remember, I couldn't tell you all everything. That's why I wish they were streaming this so we could all just watch it for ourselves. But if you remember, or actually you couldn't remember because I didn't tell you this, but here's the thing I forgot to tell you guys. There was one part of the text messages where something happened and they were supposed to have a freak off or whatever, and then something came up. And then there was a part where she had texted Diddy and she said, I'm going to tell Beyonce not to come. I'm paraphrasing, but she said something about telling Beyonce not to come. Now, I don't know what she was talking about. It could have been a party or something. I don't know. And I'm not talking about a freak off. It could have been a regular party or just could have been anything. I don't know. But she said something about telling Beyonce not to come. And also remember, Beyonce was mentioned in her lawsuit. Okay. So that all being said, we're going to see, because if the feds don't come hard, they better come hard this week. Because in my opinion, the last that was heard from Cassie didn't really sound too good. Okay? Didn't really sound too good. So the feds need to come harder this week if they want to prove their case, because right now it's really given, for the most part, domestic violence and a whole lot of rug use. And basically their relationship is kind of coming off, aside from the freak offs, their relationship is coming off kind of like Bobby and Whitney. Okay, like people that are just in a volatile, toxic relationship because they're both addicted to illegal substances. Okay, now that all being said, I'm going to go to this video. There's two different videos I'm going to show you. Okay, okay, this one right here. Okay, this one, I'm going to play this one first. Now, the next one I'm going to play, some of you've heard it before. I'm going to put an overlay on this and just let you listen to the audio because I don't have permission to use this video. Okay, likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. And this pretty much tells you about these S parties that these celebs have. I'll share my screen. Likes up, everyone, please don't forget to get the likes up. Thank you in advance. Here we go.
There were about 30 people on like a bunch of matches that had all been pushed together in the middle. There were, probably another 20 people around the edge. And at the end of that kind of experience, you don't really know like who you've had sex with, what they look like. You don't know anyone's name. So the swinger lifestyle is basically having sex with someone who is not your primary partner. That can be with your partner, that can be away from your partner, it can be at parties, it can be at swaps. There's a whole range of stuff in the lifestyle. There are parties that are very cisgender and heteronormative. There are parties that are very kink heavy, and there are queer parties as well. So if you walk into kind of one of the classic, famous straight parties, you won't see a lot of kind of conventionally unattractive people. And what's quite sad is those people get kind of filtered out generally. You'll see much older men bringing these incredibly attractive women who turn out to be escorts because they won't be let in if they turn up as a single man. A lot of the straight parties are very white, very thin, very young, and very blonde as well. I would say generally if you're black or Asian, it you don't see as many people there. There's definitely fetishization, for sure. I've seen like these really stacked dudes with these Asian tiny girlfriends, and they'll be on leads. And like I witnessed two guys who look like that, literally swapping leads with for the women. And I don't know whether those women were into that or not, but it felt quite weird. So in terms of joining an orgy, there's like various levels of etiquette. I think what's most important is you make eye contact with someone in the orgy. They normally wave you in. Solo wanking is a general no-go at any party. So, solo wanking is someone who generally presents as male, and they're normally standing in a space watching people wanking without their consent, and they're normally trying to make eye contact with you. And basically what they're doing is trying to participate in a scene that they weren't necessarily invited into. There are parties for specific kinks. There is a party which is a greedy girls and hot wives party, and it's a ratio of 6 men to 1 woman. There's female domination ones. In London, a lot of the parties have staff who will watch out for rule breaks. They'll monitor orgies, which I'm sure is not particularly a fun job. And anytime they see behaviour that's not okay, they'll normally call someone out and probably ban them from ever coming to the club again. So the old like keys in a dish stuff definitely still happens. I think generally the more provincial the city, the kind of sounds really bad, like the worse the selection criteria. So I've been to some really weird parties. I think the worst one I ever went to was in Birmingham. I had an itch and looked stuff up online and ended up going to this club run by this couple who were lovely, very nice. And the club I thought had hostesses, and actually what it was 20 men surrounding 2 paid hookers on like a massive ottoman and all this fucking hair. There is a whole space in Britain for old swingers. There's like cruises, there's whole resorts in Mexico. I think since being in the lifestyle, my sexual boundaries have shifted quite a lot. I have kind of ceased to be shocked by pretty much any sexual behavior. Like I have friends who are into like display. I have friends who, are into like urethral sounding and medical stuff. Okay, so urethral sounding is taking a rod and inserting it inside the penis. And to me, that's pretty extreme, but like they're living their best life. I think it's really hard to balance like emotional and physical boundaries with the lifestyle. I think what can end up happening is you or the partner that you're with, if you're swinging together, end up being so driven and obsessed by like new sex and new ways to have sex and new people to have sex with that you like lose touch of the emotion that you two have together. I think the swinger lifestyle can be open to coercive and abusive relationships. I have been in one that was centered around swinging. In hindsight, the only reason that we were together was because I enabled that person access to the swinging lifestyle. And it was very demeaning and very difficult. It evolved into an unwanted, like 24/7 dynamic of sex.
I want you all to pay attention to what this man is saying. He's talking about a swinging lifestyle and people having these sex parties. So that's considered swinging. Now, that's what Diddy was saying. But he also said that these things can turn into basically unconsensual things. If people start doing these things for like 24 hours or more. Okay, so I find this all very interesting. So let's keep listening. It's about 3 more minutes.
It was way too much. And like, I wasn't allowed to play with anyone who wasn't someone that he found attractive and female. I think when you're very sexually open, you see it as, oh, my partner wants this, like, that's chill, I'm chill with this. But in reality, it's like a loss of control over time. I've definitely seen things that make me really uncomfortable at swing parties. I was actually in an orgy pile a few years ago, and there was a woman underneath me who I'd been playing with, and we finished playing, and her male partner was next to her playing with someone else, and like, I could tell that she was super uncomfortable, that she didn't want him to be playing with this other person, that she wanted to stop. There's also a lot of pressure to perform. So, if you go to a party and it's a really exclusive one and the tickets were like £200 per person, for example, and you don't have sex with someone and your male partner's paid for the whole thing, you'll feel a certain type of way. You'll feel, like you let them down or whatever. So you end up in these situations where you're kind of having sex with people you don't necessarily want to have sex with people to like justify the ticket price. I think a lot of people are sexually open and they kind of want to believe that a lot of what's happening to them is consensual. And to be clear, a lot of it is. A lot of it is people having a great time expressing themselves. But if you want to go to the police about something, for example, I haven't really heard about anyone doing that because, if you're in the lifestyle anyway, you don't want to shut the club down. There are some clubs that ban people a lot, and it's great. There are other clubs where I have emailed organizers and said, this person was abusive to me and they're not a safe person. And not even to ban them. I said, like, if they're coming to your next party that your tickets for, let me know and I won't come. And they've said, oh, we don't get involved in domestics. I would say generally the kind of straighter clubs take it less seriously. And it's really sad. And the kinkier and queerer clubs, and again, those people in the lifestyle who really care about consent, they will ban people quite quickly.
Okay, so I noticed a couple of people said they really can't understand what he's saying and this is because he has a mask over his face. So he's basically talking about these sex parties and these sex clubs. And if you remember, Cassie mentioned on the stand that they went to these sex clubs sometimes. And he's saying that sometimes people would get banned from the clubs because things would turn into non-consensual. Okay, saying that somebody could be there with their partner or their spouse or whomever, and they both could be engaging with other people, and one of them could be upset by this, or someone may do something that someone didn't want done, and you would get banned from that. And also, if there were some times when people would get into it. Okay, and he was saying that the people there, I guess the owners or whoever was in charge, would tell them they don't get involved in domestics. So this sounds like this goes on quite frequently, not just with Cassie and Diddy. It sounds like a bunch of these weirdos are doing this stuff, because I'm sorry, but this is weirdo behavior to me. That's just my opinion. I don't want to judge anybody, but it all sounds like weird stuff.
There are definitely people who join the community for bad reasons, for sure. I think if you are sexually sadistic, you get off specifically on humiliating women.
Now he says this is a community of people. He said they have a community of this. And he said if you're someone who is specifically sadistic, okay, you get off specifically on hurting other people. If you're sadistic, you get off on hurting other people. I believe Diddy is a sadist. Okay, I think that's why he likes beating on people. That's why he may be so violent. Not to mention that compiled with the fact that he was taking all these drugs with a D, all these illegal substances.
Or you specifically get off on hurting people in a way that they don't enjoy. It's a space where a lot of people can convince themselves they're okay with things that they're not.
Said this is a way that people can convince themselves that they're okay with things that they're actually not. Yeah, I definitely find this all interesting. So I'm going to go to this other, before I go to the next video, let's talk about Cassie's mother, because they're saying that Cassie's mother may take the stand according to the prosecution. Now, here's the thing. What exactly is Cassie's mother going to testify to? It would have to be something that she actually saw, not something Cassie told her, because that's going to be considered as hearsay, and they can get that stricken from the record because hearsay is not admissible in court. Cassie Ventura's mother is set to testify in week 2 of Diddy's trial. Okay, so Last week, Cassie Ventura mentioned that her mother, or she mentioned her mother in several responses during her testimony in the beginning of Diddy's trial. CNN reports that Cassie's mother, Regina Ventura, will possibly take the stand next week. It is unsure what the singer's mother will be asked while under oath. Now, prosecutor Maureen Comey said Cassie's mom could be called as a witness after the mogul's former artist, Don Richard, testifies. Regina Ventura is expected to testify, according to CNN. Regina Ventura has been seemingly quiet throughout the trial's buildup. It was mentioned last week that her daughter and son-in-law were living with her until the singer received her settlement in the lawsuit with Diddy. Cassie would reveal that she received $20 million from Diddy following her filing of a lawsuit against the mogul in 2023, and the two parties issued official statements after the settlement. The singer filed the lawsuit after Diddy thanked her during his Lifetime Achievement in 2024 BET Awards. For those of you who've been following, you remember I showed you that. I played that video. So Cassie's mother may be testifying, to the fact of they weren't broke when they moved in with her, because the defense alleged that Cassie was broke when they moved in with moved in with her parents in October of 2023, because she sued Diddy a month later, just a few weeks later, in November of 2023. They were trying to say that she basically sued Diddy because they didn't have any money and that's what they needed. Okay. And Cassie said the only reason they were living with her parents is because they were transitioning from one state to another. Okay. And that's when they moved to Connecticut. But it's really, that depends on how the jury, it's going to be up to the jury as to how they want to decipher that, because some of the jurors may absolutely think that, maybe they did move in with the mother because they were the parents because they were broken. Maybe this is why, they sued. At the end of the day, we'll have to see. Reggie said, I think they were broke. Yeah, I think they were too, because Alex doesn't have money like that. He's a personal trainer. And even if he was a personal trainer for celebrities, which he wasn't. He was only a personal trainer for Diddy and maybe a couple of other people, but still, he didn't have the kind of money that Diddy had or what have you to keep up a different lifestyle. Okay, so we'll see how that all turns out. Now I'm going to go to this video, and this is about secret sex parties of the mega rich. Now this sounds like what Diddy and Cassie were doing. And I want you all to listen to this, because this gives us some insight into the fact that there's a bunch of these elite wealthy people who engage in these practices. This is nothing new, and it may be shocking to us. And some of the things that we heard during the testimony and read in some of the lawsuit, may have shocked us, may have sounded so crazy or appalling, but there are people who absolutely engage in these things on a regular basis. They actually have a whole community of this. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add this to the stream so we can hear this. And again, this is another video about 7 minutes. It's a 7-minute clip.
The hotel industry is a wild experience that helps you understand how disconnected.
Now, I want you all to pay attention, because this man is talking about the hotel industry, because this guy works at a hotel where a lot of rich, wealthy people come, and he's talking about how they engage in these S parties. And in Diddy and Cassie's case, they're called freak-offs. And remember, they did a lot of these things at the hotels. Okay, Empowered Witness says they were queen. They doing rituals too. Absolutely, beloved. I do know they were doing rituals, because I'm telling you, an insider told me about several of the rituals that Diddy was involved in. And I have those videos. I may repost those sometime this week.
Wildly wealthy are. I've seen the darker side of humanity: suicides, murders, spousal abuse, human trafficking. That shit stays with you for a long time. One weekend, a large group of around 60-ish people, they wanted to purchase out the entire hotel so they could just turn it into a giant orgy. The cost about the property was upwards of $250,000.
Now, for anyone who can't understand, I'll tell you some of the stuff that's being said. Okay, so this guy is saying that he works in the hotel industry, and he talked about these people coming there and having these big giant orgies. He talks about a specific weekend when an entourage of about 60 people came in, and they rented out the entire hotel, he says. Okay, so for 2 nights at a time. Now let's continue.
for 2 nights at a time. That says you've got money to spend. They left a nightmare room. Blood, feces, semen stains.
This sounds like Diddy's party because he said they left a nightmare in the room. He said there was blood, demon seed, or eman with an S, and urine stains and all of that. Okay, all kinds of stains.
One of my bellboys came up and was like, "I've got a black light. I'm curious." He turned it on, and I remember we looked down and saw the stains. We looked to the sides and saw them on the wall. At one point in the bathroom, we looked up and saw them all in the ceiling, and we were just like, "How do you do this? This is not human. Were you on the ceiling?"
So they even had the stains on the wall and the ceilings. And he said one of the bellboys had a black light and told him he wanted to use it. And so that's how they were able to go in there with the black light and see where the stains were exactly. And they were both wondering how. This is not even human. Were you on the ceiling? Because how did the stuff get on the ceiling? All disgusting. And he's a luxury hotel manager, by the way.
I worked as an operations manager for around 10 plus years. I've worked in hotels where the average daily rate is anywhere from like $99 and then all the way up to boutique properties where the average cost is around $1,400 per night. In general, the higher up that price value, the more common it is to be treated like you're less than human. The people who are coming to visit you, famous pop stars and Russian oligarchs, they have a private plane that they get in a private vehicle.
Okay, he said some of the people that will come are famous pop stars, Russian oligarchs. They come in private planes. They have private vehicles.
With all tinted blackout windows. Sometimes they have security squads. They'll snap their fingers at them. Very large sense of entitlement where if they approach the desk, they are the only thing that exists to you in that moment. And that's what they came to expect from that level of entering a luxury hotel. Most people who visit boutique hotels are not coming for business. They're there for pleasure. There was a group of fabulously wealthy individuals. You can definitely get a sense of how much wealth they actually have when they're talking about things like buying a fleet of Boeings in the lobby casually. They would buy out this entire property. They were spending as much as a luxury wedding. And it's basically a giant swingers orgy. You'd have people having sex in the pool, people laying on our wine bars naked, a couple having sex on a balcony in plain view. So you're looking up at it, quite an angle. And every single room would have a different theme. And
every single room would have a different theme. There was even people having sex on the balcony, and there were people all in the pool.
A safe word posted outside of the door. The one that stands out to me was there's a mermaid-themed room. It was actually kind of impressive, the details they went, so it was very like under the sea vibe. There was the Wild West room. There was the straight up BDSM room. One couple we had to talk to, while they were naked, they would purposely wait to start having sex until housekeeping wanted to clean the room.
So he said some of these people would purposely wait to start having sex until house cleaning came to clean the room. And that's because they wanted the house cleaners to watch them have relations. All nefarious.
Wanted somebody to watch. The day after they had all departed, I got a call from housekeeping saying that one of the showers is busted, and I go take a look at it, and they had hacksawed off the actual shower piece, the shower head, and attached a 4-foot long anal probe hose to it with multiple settings on the other end. And that was as disgusting as you can imagine. After all of the drama and mental scarring that we put up with for this orgy buyout group, probably between about 30 staff, I want to say we made $20 in tips. I found myself on more than one occasion getting stuck in awkward situations between husbands, their lovers, and then the actual wife. The worst case scenario was husband and wife shared credit cards naturally, and she started seeing the hotel show up on the books, and she stormed in and like slammed bank statements down. It's like, I know my husband's here. You guys are lying to me. We have to just say, you know what, I'm so sorry, we don't have anyone here by this name. And meanwhile, we can literally hear them having sex upstairs. Apparently, she didn't notice the sounds were familiar to her, which might be a sad statement on their marriage, actually. The problem with working with the fabulously wealthy is that they often assume that the staff is there at their beck and call regardless of what the request is. It was really common for the high rollers to approach attractive staff members and essentially just ask them, hey, if I pay you X amount of dollars, will you meet me in my room later tonight and knock my brains out? That's a quote from someone, sadly. We had a very busty, gorgeous front desk woman at one hotel, and someone came down and offered her quite a bit of money in front of management. And at the moment, she naturally declined. I have security cameras in all the halls, and seeing that person sneak out around 2 a.m. was definitely a little suspicious. The most shocking example was an incident where the wedding was around 2 p.m.-ish that day. Come nightfall, one of our event staff slept with the wife and ended up getting caught. It turned into quite a big deal with screaming and shouting and all this stuff. He hid in a bathroom in a supply closet until the heat died down, and then he just walked into the front office and clocked out like nothing ever happened. His mom happened to be in charge of events, so she made sure he didn't get terminated. The demographics of the staffs who work at hotels are usually pretty evenly split. If you're an attractive white person who speaks English quite well, you're probably going to be reservations, front desk, something visual. If you're not of that ethnicity, just because they have an accent and that might not present well to your guests, your most likely bet is that you're going to get placed in housekeeping. If you're working at a decent property, you could probably get $10 to $15 an hour as a front desk host. If you're housekeeping, you're maybe getting 9 to 10. It was wildly unfair. We were actually advised to handle our housekeeping teams under the concept of divide and conquer, telling them, oh, well, so-and-so's team's much better than yours. You should really try to keep up with the Mexican team. It creates that toxic environment. This prevented the entire housekeeping team from uniting together and presenting concerns. And I saw that kind of model in multiple hotels. In retrospect, I can safely say that the hours they made me work, the wild situations you'd run into, it's a miracle that I never got in a really bad car accident commuting. It slowly burns you out in a way that you can't explain until you are out of it. You just kind of know something's wrong and you're not happy. The biggest thing that the public doesn't understand about the hotel industry is that there are wild things happening behind closed doors every single day. Fabulously wealthy individuals are wild. Everything happens behind closed doors at hotels.
All right. All right, so I find that all very interesting. Please pay attention. Likes up, everyone. Please don't forget to like and share. Thank you in advance. Okay, so you all heard that. Did you all hear where he said that they went into the bathroom at the hotel and someone had hacksawed? They had sawed part of the shower thing off, the shower head, and attached some sort of anal probe to it with multiple settings. Okay, so what were they doing with that? I can only imagine. It all sounds nefarious. And then they talked about how sometimes the women would come there looking for their husbands because they'd be checking the bills and see that the hotel was popping up. They'd come there and say, oh, I know my husband's here. And you could literally hear the man upstairs having relations with some other woman, and they would lie about it or whatever. This is all real crazy. Okay, so it just goes to prove that this seems to be commonplace in Hollywood and the music industry. And this is nothing strange or whatever. This is something that these people absolutely engage in. I would have to think that this is likely because of untapped power. When you have money, when you're a billionaire, that you can just do whatever you want. And these people probably try all sorts of things just because they can do so, because they have money. And then, being in Hollywood and in the music industry, where this seems to be part of the culture. Okay, and when you think about it, listen, the way Cassie was talking about on the stand about the golden showers and stuff, we heard the same thing from the whole R. Kelly situation. Okay, let's not forget the movie eyes wide shut, because that's what it all sounds like. These people get into some freaky deaky stuff. Okay, right now the feds got their work cut out for them, because at this point, as far as I'm concerned, it just to me sounds like they have Diddy's sex life on trial. It just sounds like they have a bunch of domestic violence, two people violent, doing illegal substances and all of that. Doesn't sound like they have proved their point as of yet. Well, of course, we'll know more this week when we hear the the other witnesses, or the other the other people that are going to testify, but also when the expert witnesses come in to testify, because I'm sure they're going to bring in a psychologist or psychiatrist who basically says Cassie was suffering from Stockholm syndrome, that Cassie was, maybe even groomed. They'll say, who knows what all they'll say. But the bottom line is, it was not a good look when Cassie's story changed on the stand. When her story changed on the stand, and when it seemed like she was a little bit, almost to the point that I would say combative. When the defense asked her certain questions, she would say she couldn't remember, but the prosecution had asked her very similar questions about some of the text messages or whatever, just not with all of the details that the defense was using. Because you see, what the defense was trying to do was they were trying to nail her to the wall with her own words. Okay, just think about how Cassie was saying Diddy was making her do some of this stuff, and then when they pull out the text messages and receipts, Cassie was saying something totally different. And then when they would push back at her and ask her about it, she would say, well, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Like, for example, when she was talking about having the freak off and Diddy was trying to do something else, and then she says to him also, she asked him, do you have any more of those pills? When the defense asked her, Ana Estavio, the woman who was conducting the cross exam, when she asked Cassie, what pills were you talking about? And remember how Cassie said, I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, she didn't know what pills the lady was talking about. Okay, I'm quite sure she knew what pills. Even if she didn't know specifically what pills, she knew that they were illegal substances. Okay. And then also when she was asking Cassie about other things that she said, about, as it pertained to setting up the freak offs and all that stuff, because she told the prosecution she never wanted to have those things. She felt nasty, disgusted, humiliated. She said, who would want somebody to do that to them? Okay, who would want somebody to do that to them? And you see, here's the thing. It all sounds so disgusting that we would all say to ourselves, who does want somebody to do that to them? Until you start finding out that a lot of these people are just freaks and weirdos, and this is what they absolutely get into. Okay. And then also, let's not forget that Daniel Phillip, the first S worker who has testified, said that Cassie told him to give her the golden showers. But here's the thing. Diddy may have told Cassie beforehand, oh, tell him to do a golden shower. Who knows? We don't know. We weren't there. But the problem with that is, if the jury doesn't know, that's a reasonable doubt. So they may not know, well, did she want this to happen to her, or did she just do it because she felt like that's what Diddy wanted? So now, with some of the things being inconsistent, we can't really say, and they're just going to have to go with their gut feelings. Okay, or wherever they think the facts lead them. But so far, it looks like the defense did a good job last week in casting a reasonable doubt. And the prosecution is going to have to come in this week and try to seal the deal, to try to get back the upper hand. Because right now, it doesn't look like they have it. And that's just my opinion. Okay, some of you all may feel a little different. Reggie said, I like the way 50 Cent says little S worker. I know, right? When he's talking about Daphne Joy. Okay, so listen, with that all being said, I'll be tuned in tomorrow at 9 a.m. Okay, so tune in, because we have the updates. Don't forget that I have somebody that's directly there right inside the courtroom. And so we get the updates quickly, and then I come back after court is adjourned. I come back later on and do like a highlight of the most important parts of the case and all of that. Okay, so I hope you all enjoyed it. For those of you who have your memberships, and at about 8:15, we're going to be live for members only. We're going to be breaking down the movie Sinners. Okay, and if you have not seen it, you may not want to tune in, because I'm telling you, there's going to be spoiler alerts, and that's why I'm doing it for the members only. Okay. Thank you, Ivan. I absolutely appreciate you too, beloved. Okay. Aqua Girl Ryder says, y'all saw Kelly Rowland's motivation video? I didn't see it. Lisa says, I think they're trying to assassinate his character. Well, that's how some people feel. We're going to see where the facts take us. Okay, at the end of the day. So listen, I love you all to life. I want to thank you all for tuning in once again. I hope you all enjoy the rest of this evening. Each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. Always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. And I will see you all in the morning at 9 a.m. sharp, so we can finish listening so we can finish going over the trial and just follow along and see what we can get. Okay, so talk to you all again soon. Peace. Hold on, let me stop for a second. Rashid said you did see him hitting Cassie. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We all saw it. How could we miss it? We saw the video. We absolutely saw the video. But the problem is he's not on trial for hitting Cassie. He's not on trial for domestic violence. He's on trial for racketeering, trafficking with force, fraud, and coercion, and a myriad of other things. But none of that involves domestic violence. Right now, it looks like all they've proven is domestic violence. So they need to get on the ball because Diddy needs to go to prison. At the end of the day, I believe Diddy has done a bunch of nefarious things. People have turned up dead around Diddy, and I absolutely think that he needs to be in prison. But right now, it doesn't look like they have proven their case. So, but we have weeks left for the trial. We have myriads of other testimony. So we'll see how it all turns out because like I said, they still have time to catch up. Okay, so anyway, with that all being said, talk to you all again soon. Peace.
Hey, yo, Nick, hit him with that flavor. Gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen, why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunta. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. That's See right. A bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got